That class elucidates precisely why human participation in galactic warfare is strictly prohibited, Professor Zix9 declared, his tentacles waving emphatically. A blue, blob-like student, Blowback, in the rear, extended a gelatinous appendage. But Professor, Blowback questioned, I was under the impression that humans were barred due to their perceived primitiveness and weakness. What is the actual justification? The professor's eye stalks twitched nervously. Well, Blowback, it's intricate. Intricate how? Kiki, an avian creature perched on her desk, chirped. Either they pose a threat, or they do not. Which is it? Professor Zix9 sighed, a sound akin to air escaping a punctured balloon. Very well, I suppose you are mature enough to comprehend the truth. It all commenced with the Great Zorian War of 3576. The class leaned forward, or those capable of leaning did, the remainder simply squished in anticipation. The Zorblons, in their supposed cleverness, resolved to enlist a contingent of humans to their cause, as cannon fodder, you understand. The professor chuckled, a dry, rattling sound. Oh, how mistaken they were. Did the humans get vaporized instantaneously? Blowback burbled excitedly. If only, Zix9 muttered. What transpired next redefined the concept of overkill. The students exchanged bewildered glances, which, for certain species, entailed the literal removal and exchange of eyeballs. You see, the professor continued, humans possess this quaint little notion termed war crimes. Most species simply engage in combat until one faction is deceased or surrenders. Humans, however, compiled a list of activities deemed too reprehensible for warfare. Kiki tilted her head. That sounds noble. Zix9 emitted a barking laugh. Oh, you sweet summer hatchling, you fail to grasp the essence. They created a list and then executed every action not included on it. A collective gasp reverberated through the classroom, triggering a minor gravitational disturbance. While the Zorians were occupied congratulating themselves on their newfound primitive allies, the humans were already several steps ahead. They didn't merely wage war, they scienced the hell out of it. Scienced? Blowback bubbled incredulously. Is that even a term? It is now, the professor stated grimly. The humans glanced at our standard-issue plasma rifles and remarked, neat toy, observe this. Before we knew it, they were weaponizing black holes. Kiki's feathers stood on end. But that's impossible. Oh, my dear student, Zix9 sighed, when it pertains to humans, the term impossible functions more as a challenge than a limitation. They refer to it as thinking outside the box, we label it as violating the laws of physics and fundamental decency. The class sat in stunned silence, attempting to process the information. While most sat, Blowback kind of oozed thoughtfully. But surely, a robotic student beeped from the front row, our superior numbers would have. Numbers, the professor interrupted with a hysterical giggle. Oh, you poor, naive calculator. Humans disregard numbers, they prioritize narratives. One of their military commanders once stated, quantity possesses a quality all its own. The humans interpreted that as a personal challenge to disprove him. The robot's circuits nearly overloaded attempting to compute that logic. Before we realized it, Zix9 continued, his voice dropping to a whisper, they repurposed our own technology against us. Recall that gleaming new faster-than-light drive we were so proud of? They weaponized it. How do you weaponize FTL travel? Kiki inquired, both fascinated and horrified. The professor's eye stalks drooped. They dubbed it the Yeet Cannon. Do not inquire as to the meaning of Yeet, I am reasonably certain it translates to war crime in their vernacular. Blowback burbled nervously. But we are secure now, correct? The humans are contained on their homeworld. Zix9 laughed, a sound devoid of joy. Oh, my sweet summer blob, contained? They consented to remain on their planet, uttering something about taking a respite to binge-watch all of Netflix. I lack comprehension of that term, but it sounds ominous. The class collectively shuddered, triggering a minor earthquake in the lecture hall. Therefore, children, the professor concluded, his tentacles drooping with fatigue, the next time someone informs you that humans are prohibited from galactic warfare due to their weakness, remember this, we did not ban them, we implored them to desist. And may the cosmic forces have mercy on us all should they ever tire of their Netflix and resolve to emerge and play once more. As the students filed out of the classroom, still dazed from the revelation, Professor Zix9 could not dispel the sensation that somewhere out there on a small blue planet, a human was smiling, and that thought terrified him more than any black hole ever could. Zix9 slumped into his chair, his tentacles massaging his throbbing cranial sacs. He had likely divulged too much, but the students required the knowledge. The galactic rumor mill was spiraling out of control, and the last thing anyone needed was some hotshot young alien attempting to prove themselves by instigating a conflict with humanity. A soft chime interrupted his brooding. Incoming transmission from Earth, his desk computer announced. The professor froze, all 7 of his hearts skipping a beat. With trembling appendages, he accepted the call. A human face materialized on the screen, grinning from ear to ear. "Hey, Prof, long time no see." Zix9's eye stalks twisted into knots. "Captain Rodriguez, to what do I owe this pleasure?" The human smile widened, if that were even possible. "Oh, just checking in on my favorite xenoanthropology professor. How are the kids? Still filling their heads with horror stories about us big bad humans?" I don't know what you mean," Zix9 stammered, his chromatophore cycling through a panicked rainbow. Rodriguez laughed, a sound that sent shivers down the professor's spinal ridge. "Come on, Prof, we both know you've got the classroom bugged. Standard procedure, right? Got to keep an eye on the next generation of potential threats." Zix9 deflated like a punctured balloon. "How long have you known?" "Since we installed it for you," Rodriguez winked. "That Faraday cage? Pure human tech, baby. We just love our little jokes." The professor's mind reeled. All this time, they had believed they were being clever, monitoring potential threats, and the humans had simply permitted it for amusement. But why? Zix9 managed to croak. Rodriguez's expression softened just a fraction. "Look, Prof, we get it. We scare the living daylights out of you guys, and honestly, that's probably for the best. Keeps everyone on their toes, So you are not planning to what? Conquer the galaxy?" "Please," Rodriguez scoffed. "Do you have any idea how much paperwork that would involve?" "Nah, we're good where we are. Got plenty to keep us busy." Zix9's tentacles unclenched slightly. "The Netflix you mentioned?" "Among other things," Rodriguez nodded. "Did you know we've started colonizing our own solar system? Mars is coming along nicely, we've even got plans for Europa." The professor's eyes widened in horror. "But that's a protected celestial body. The Galactic Council explicitly forbade interfering with potential alien life." Yeah, Rodriguez waved dismissively. "But here's the thing, Prof, we are the alien life to Europa, at least. It's all about perspective." Zix9 felt a migraine coming on. This was why dealing with humans was so maddening. They didn't just think outside the box, they folded the box into an origami swan and used it as a hat. "Anyway," Rodriguez continued cheerfully, "just wanted to give you a heads up. We were thinking of sending a delegation to the next Galactic Council meeting, shake things up a bit." The professor's coloration drained to a sickly pale. "But the ban." "Oh, that old thing?" Rodriguez grinned. "We're not coming as a military force, we're coming as, what did you call it?" "Ah, yes, primitive allies. Just a bunch of harmless humans eager to learn from our advanced galactic neighbors." Zix9 knew that look. It was the same look humans had right before they turned a black hole into a game of cosmic golf. "Don't worry, Prof," Rodriguez said, his tone suspiciously soothing. "We'll be on our best behavior. Scout's honor." He held up his hand in a gesture that Zix9 was pretty sure meant something very different in human culture. As the transmission ended, Professor Zix9 stared blankly at the screen. Humans were coming to the Galactic Council, humans with their terrifying creativity and their blatant disregard for the laws of physics and common sense. He needed a drink, several drinks, possibly all the drinks in the galaxy. As he stumbled out of his office, he couldn't shake the feeling that the universe was about to get a lot more interesting, and in the grand cosmic scheme of things, interesting was the most terrifying prospect of all. Somewhere in the depths of space, a black hole hiccuped, and if 6ix9ine didn't know better, he could have sworn it sounded like human laughter. 3 Galactic Standard weeks later, Professor 6ix9ine found himself fidgeting nervously in the grand atrium of the Galactic Council headquarters. The place was abuzz with activity, representatives from thousands of species mingling in a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and pheromone releases. "Can you believe it?" chirped Kiki, who had somehow finagled her way into being 6ix9ine's assistant for the event. "Actual humans here." The professor's tentacles twisted into knots. "Yes, isn't it wonderful?" he managed, his voice dripping with the kind of enthusiasm usually reserved for root canal procedures. A hush fell over the crowd as the main doors swung open and strode the human delegation, looking for all the world like they were just popping down to the corner store for milk instead of attending the most important political gathering in the galaxy. Leading the pack was none other than Captain Rodriguez, sporting a t-shirt that could probably be seen from orbit. "Sup, nerds," he called out, his voice echoing through the suddenly silent chamber. 6ix9ine felt his chromatophore cycling through 50 shades of mortified. An arachnoid diplomat scuttled forward, mandibles clacking nervously. "Welcome, esteemed human delegates. We are honored by your presence." Rodriguez's grin impossibly widened. "Ah, shucks, we're just happy to be here. Love what you've done with the place. Very spacey." The arachnoid's compound eyes blinked in confusion. "I thank you." As the humans spread out, mingling with the other delegates, 6ix9ine couldn't shake the feeling that he was watching a disaster unfold in slow motion. He sidled up to Rodriguez, trying to keep his voice low. "Captain, I must insist that you..." "Prof." Rodriguez boomed, slapping 6ix9ine on what he hoped was the alien's back. "Great to see you in the flesh, or whatever it is you've got under there." The professor winced. "Yes, well, about the council meeting." "Oh, don't you worry your pretty little eye stalks about that," Rodriguez said with a wink. "We've got it all under control. In fact, we've brought a little presentation, you're going to love it." 6ix9ine's heart sank. The last time humans had given a presentation, it had ended with 3 uninhabited solar systems being turned into an impromptu fireworks display. As the council members took their seats, Rodriguez sauntered to the center of the chamber. "Esteemed delegates of the galaxy," he began, his voice taking on an uncharacteristically formal tone, "we come before you today with a proposal that will change the face of galactic politics forever." The chamber held its collective breath, or released spores, or whatever the various species did when they were anxious. Rodriguez paused for dramatic effect, then said, "We want to join your Space Olympics." For a moment there was silence, then chaos erupted. "Preposterous," bellowed a Jovian gasbag. "Unthinkable," shrieked a collective of psychic jellyfish. "What's an Olympic?" asked a confused sentient rock. Rodriguez held up his hands, waiting for the commotion to die down. Now, I know what you're thinking, humans, you're barely out of your own solar system, how could you possibly compete?" 6ix9ine felt a headache coming on. That was not in fact what anyone was thinking, they were all too busy having collective panic attacks. "Well," Rodriguez continued, "we've been practicing, and we think we're ready for the big leagues. Plus, we've got a few new events to suggest." He pulled out a small device and projected a hologram into the center of the chamber. It showed a human in a spacesuit writing what appeared to be a... "Is that a black hole?" Kiki whispered, her feathers standing on end. "We call it cosmic surfing," Rodriguez said proudly. "First one to ride the event horizon without getting spaghettified wins." The arachnoid diplomat's mandibles clacked rapidly. But that's impossible and highly illegal and awesome," Rodriguez suggested. "Yeah, we thought so too." "Oh, and wait till you see our plans for the neutron star javelin throw. It's going to be lit, literally." As the chamber descended into pandemonium, with delegates either fainting, molting in stress, or attempting to call their lobbyists, 6ix9ine caught Rodriguez's eye. The human winked. "Told you we'd be on our best behavior, Professor, this is us playing nice." And in that moment, as he watched the most powerful beings in the galaxy reduced to a squabbling mess by a few humans and their insane ideas, Professor Zix9 had a revelation. The galaxy hadn't banned humans from warfare because they were too dangerous, they'd done it because humans made everything else look boring in comparison. As he slumped in his seat, watching Rodriguez field questions about the safety protocols for quasar quad racing, Zix9 couldn't help but wonder, was the galaxy ready for humanity's special brand of chaos? Probably not, but it was certainly going to be one hell of a show. As the Galactic Council chamber devolved into a chaotic mess of shouting, fainting, and impromptu molting, Professor Zix9 found himself being pulled aside by a grinning Captain Rodriguez. "Come on, Prof," the human said, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "Let's blow this popsicle stand. I've got something to show you." Before Zix9 could protest, he was being dragged out of the chamber, his tentacles flailing helplessly. They made their way through winding corridors, passing bewildered aliens left and right. "Where are we going?" the professor managed to sputter. Rodriguez's grin widened. "To the parking lot, of course." Zix9's eye stalks twisted in confusion. "The what?" They burst through a set of doors into what appeared to be a massive hangar. Rows upon rows of sleek spacecraft stretched as far as the eye could see, and there, in the middle of it all, sat something that made Zix9's heart skip several beats. It was a ship, but unlike anything the professor had ever seen. It looked like someone had taken a classic Earth muscle car, stuffed it full of impossible technology, and then decided it wasn't ridiculous enough and added wings. "Meet the SS Hot Wheels," Rodriguez said proudly, patting the vehicle's gleaming hood. "Our latest, and completely unnecessary, but totally awesome transportation technology." Zix9 stared, his mouth agape. "But how, what?" "Oh, this baby," Rodriguez chuckled, "she's powered by pure audacity, with a dash of quantum improbability. 0 to light speed in 3.7 seconds. And check this out." He pressed a button, and suddenly the carship was blasting what Zix9 recognized as ancient Earth rock music at an ear-splitting volume. The professor winced, his sensory organs overwhelmed. Is that legal?" Rodriguez shrugged. "Probably not, but hey, that's never stopped us before. Want to take her for a spin?" Before Zix9 could formulate a response, which would have been a resounding no in at least 17 different languages, they were interrupted by the arrival of Kiki, who came barreling into the hangar, her feathers in disarray. "Professor," she squawked. "The council, they're losing their minds." Rodriguez suggested helpfully, "Excellent." Kiki nodded frantically. "They're calling for an emergency vote, something about preemptively surrendering to humanity to avoid any future cosmic sports-related incidents." Zix9 felt faint. This was it, the end of galactic civilization as they knew it, all because humans couldn't resist turning the universe into their personal playground. Rodriguez, however, looked thoughtful. Didn't see that coming. Usually takes at least 3 of our presentations before anyone starts waving the white flag. You planned this?" Zix9 sputtered incredulously. The human captain had the decency to look slightly abashed. "Well, not exactly. We were kind of hoping for a nice, friendly sports competition, you know? Show off a little, make some new friends, maybe accidentally rewrite the laws of physics once or twice. The usual." Kiki's beak fell open. "The usual?" "Yeah, Rodriguez waves dismissively, like that time we turned Jupiter into a giant mood ring, or when we used a pulsar to send Morse code messages across the galaxy. Just good, clean fun." Zix9 felt a migraine coming on. "Captain, I don't think you understand the gravity of the situation. The Galactic Council is in chaos, centuries of carefully cultivated diplomacy are unraveling as we speak, and all because you wanted to spice things up a bit." Rodriguez offered, "Yeah, we tend to have that effect. But look on the bright side, Prof, at least no one's at war, right?" The professor had to admit, grudgingly, that the human had a point. The galaxy was in an uproar, yes, but not a violent one, more like a very confused, slightly terrified, but oddly exhilarated one. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the hangar. Rodriguez's eyes lit up. "Ooh, sounds like the after party is starting. Come on, you two, let's go see what kind of trouble we can get into now. As they raced back towards the council chamber, Zix-9 found himself wondering, not for the first time, if perhaps the universe wouldn't have been better off if humans had just stayed on their little blue planet, binge-watching their Netflix. But then again, as he watched Rodriguez charm a group of silicon-based lifeforms with promises of extreme terraforming sports, the professor realized something: the galaxy might never be the same again, but maybe, just maybe, that wasn't such a bad thing after all. As the humans like to say, why shoot for the stars when you could surf a black hole to get there? And so, as the Galactic Council prepared to welcome its newest, most chaotic members, Professor Zix-9 braced himself for a future that was bound to be many things: terrifying, exhilarating, and above all, never, ever boring. The age of humanity had begun. May the cosmos have mercy on us all. As Rodriguez led the way back to the council chamber, Zix-9 and Kiki trailing behind like bewildered ducklings, the professor couldn't shake the feeling that the universe was about to tilt on its axis again. They burst through the doors to find a scene that could only be described as orderly chaos. Delegates from 1,000 worlds were engaged in heated debates, tentacles waving and antennae twitching, and in one notable case, a gaseous being was changing colors so rapidly it looked like a sentient disco ball. At the center of it all stood a human woman, her silver hair tied back in a no-nonsense bun, calmly addressing the assembly as if she were discussing the weather rather than the fate of galactic civilization. "Ah, there you are, Rod," she called out as they entered. "I was beginning to think you'd taken the scenic route through a wormhole or something." Rodriguez grinned. "Nah, just showing the prof here our new ride. Ambassador Chen, meet Professor Zix-9 and his assistant, Kiki. Guys, meet the reason we haven't accidentally conquered half the galaxy yet." Ambassador Chen rolled her eyes. "Flattery will get you everywhere, Captain. Now, if you don't mind, I'm in the middle of averting an interstellar incident." Zix-9 leaned in confusion. "But I thought the surrender." Chen waved dismissively. "Oh, that minor misunderstanding? Turns out surrender in Arcturian sign language looks a lot like let's party in Balgian interpretive dance. We've sorted it out now, mostly," added a nearby translator droid, who looked like it was one paradox away from a total systems crash. Rodriguez clapped his hands together. "Great. So, what did we miss? Any takers on the neutron star javelin throw?" Before Chen could answer, a booming voice echoed through the chamber. "We accept your challenge, humans." All eyes turned to see a massive, tentacled being slithering forward. It was Ambassador Kurlax of the Spilopodian Collective, known across the galaxy for their unparalleled spatial awareness and ability to multitask with up to 27 limbs simultaneously. Kurlax's eyes, all 17 of them, gleamed with excitement. "Your cosmic sports intrigue us. We propose a contest, our best against yours. If we win, you agree to tone down your enthusiasm for galactic remodeling." Rodriguez's eyebrows shot up. "And if we win?" The Spilopodian tentacles writhed in what might have been a shrug. "Name your price, human." A hush fell over the chamber as everyone waited for Rodriguez's response. Zix-9 felt his heart racing. This was it, the moment that would decide the fate of the galaxy. Would the humans demand unlimited access to restricted technology, the rights to terraform uninhabited worlds, a monopoly on black hole manipulation? Rodriguez stroked his chin thoughtfully, then broke into a wide grin. "If we win, you have to host the next intergalactic barbecue cook-off." The silence that followed was so profound you could have heard a cork drop. What?" Kurlax sputtered, tentacles twitching in confusion. "You heard me," Rodriguez said, his grin widening. "We're talking the biggest, baddest, most delicious gathering this side of the Andromeda. Every species invited, no dietary restriction left behind. We'll even throw in some recipes for squid dishes, you know, as a cultural exchange." Ambassador Chen pinched the bridge of her nose, muttering something that sounded suspiciously like, "This is why we can't have nice solar systems." Kurlax, however, seemed intrigued. "A culinary contest instead of military might or technological supremacy?" Rodriguez shrugged. "Why not? You haven't lived until you've tried baby back ribs slow-cooked in the radiative heat of a blue supergiant." As the Spilopodian considered this, murmurs of interest began to ripple through the crowd. Other species were chiming in, offering their own culinary specialties and suggesting potential venue planets. Zix9 watched in amazement as the earlier tension dissolved into excited chatter about marinades and grilling techniques. Even Kiki was getting into it, eagerly describing something called a seed cake to a group of silicon-based lifeforms. "You planned this, didn't you?" the professor asked Rodriguez quietly. The captain winked. "Let's just say we've found that nothing brings people together quite like the promise of good food and a killer party. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go explain the concept of esmores to a hive mind. This could take a while." As Rodriguez waded into the crowd, now buzzing with excitement over the prospect of an intergalactic potluck, Zix9 felt a strange sensation wash over him. It took him a moment to recognize it: hope. Maybe, just maybe, the humans' chaotic approach to galactic diplomacy wasn't so bad after all. After all, who would have time for war when there were recipes to exchange and barbecue techniques to perfect? As he watched Ambassador Chen calmly negotiating the terms of the cook-off, including a strict "no sentient ingredients" clause, Zix9 couldn't help but chuckle. The galaxy might never be the same, but at least it would be well fed. And who knows, maybe somewhere out there, amid the vast cosmic barbecue that the universe was about to become, they'd finally find the answer to life, the universe, and everything, or at least the perfect marinade for Arcturian megashrimp. It was a start. As the Galactic Council chamber buzzed with excitement over the upcoming intergalactic barbecue cook-off, Professor Zix